Philadelphia. I'm Bruce Buffer. It's time for the Anthony Gorgano Show.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. The Divisional Round Tuesday to all across the Delaware Valley. This is the Anthony Gargano Show presented by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Go to TrueMark.com/PHLY to find out the credit union difference. We know now the opponent, Eagles and Rams. This is a rematch of November 24th. If you remember the Sunday night before Thanksgiving, Eagles and Rams in L.A., Eagles win 37-20. It was the Barkley game. Saquon rolls 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, the 2 big home run runs that happened in the second half. Eagles dominate the game, dominate the second half. It was 37-14, and then the Rams scored a late touchdown to make it closer. But this game was all Eagles. First half, a little dicey. Eagles start with a field goal. Rams come down. They score a touchdown. Kyron Williams comes in from the 1. Big A.J. Brown touchdown makes it 13-7 at halftime. And then the Eagles roll in the second half. And that had been their MO, right? The Eagles' MO was Saquon, second half, roll. And that was what happened in the first game between these two teams. Last night, obviously, the Rams dominate Minnesota so many different ways. You know, looking back at it, we saw what the Rams front, how they tormented Sam Darnold. Darnold, it struck midnight, and it started last week against Detroit, where he failed miserably inside the red zone, was erratic and high and off on his throws. And then last night, he was just abysmal. He had happy feet all night. The Rams, they dominated. 9 sacks. You saw the Jared Verse touchdown off the fumble, the sack fumble touchdown. And the Rams front was scary last night. The Rams front showed a lot. Now, the run defense that Saquon gashed has gotten better. They've gotten healthier since the Eagles saw them thanks to the weekend before Thanksgiving. They've gotten healthier. They've gotten better against the run. Alvin Kamara ran for 115, and after that, they haven't allowed a rusher over 60 yards. They give it, obviously, they have a great quarterback in Matt Stafford, a big-time passing game with Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Now, you lose your tight end, Higbee. They lose him. It's a big deal. Listen, they can run it with Kyron Williams. They're balanced. They're well coached with Sean McVay. They present a challenge. Now, the Eagles are a better team. They're at home. They're facing the Rams on a short week. The only thing that weirdly kind of I worry about is that, and I hate to even bring this up in the scope of sports, but it's a part of the narrative, right? It just is. The fires in Los Angeles, the horrific situation in L.A., you saw the Rams were displaced. They brought 2 airplanes over to Phoenix with all their team people. They talked about it last night. There were pets and wives and kids and 2 airplanes full of people that they brought from L.A. And sometimes these kinds of moments galvanize a team, right? We saw that with the Saints and Katrina. A little bit before that, well, obviously with 9/11. So there's that thing that is there, and I hate to even bring it up in this scope, but it's a part of what a team does. Sports plays such a huge role in our society, and it can help galvanize people and help bring people together and the whole thing. But if you look at it and you X and O it, again, obviously the Rams are going to sell out against Saquon to try to stop the run. Do they watch that tape? They're going to watch that tape over and over and over again, right? They're going to see the big runs. They're going to see Saquon. And so they're going to probably sell out against the run and put the game in Jalen's hands. Now they can get pressure. You saw that front last night dominate, right? Now the Eagles O-line better than the Vikings O-line, And then the Minnesota's O-line had a big blow in the second half. They lost their right tackle, who's probably their best lineman. So that affects everything. Like you saw with Green Bay, losing Jenkins, who's their best offensive lineman, it just affected Jordan Love in such a big way, even more than the receivers. When the protection fails, that's when there's issues, right? That's when the teams you start to melt. And then you got guys like, Darnold, who just couldn't get to any rhythm. All right. He just was under duress. And then you saw him just kind of happy feet all over the pocket. And it was pretty much over early. It was interesting. They never got to any sort of rhythm, Minnesota. They couldn't run it. They couldn't get out they couldn't get the ball in Jefferson's hands. And then meanwhile, the Rams just did enough offensively. Eagles are a different beast. The Eagles come in, obviously, defensively, one of the best units in football. You can get into Stafford, right? Obviously, immobile. Matt is doing a long time, 37 years old. So you're going to have to pressure him. You're going to have to disrupt their pass game. And you got to stop Kyren Williams, right? Because they do a lot of stuff off play action using Kyren Williams. And then they'll take their shots downfield with Puka and Kupp and Robinson, DeMarcus Robinson. That's how they'll kind of play it. This Eagles team, man, look, it goes back to their defense. Their defense is solid. It's great. If you can get some kind of pressure, the only thing that scares me of stopping the run is losing Nakobe. So that's a big loss. So you take Nakobe out of it. It's going to come down to the Eagles' offense, and it's going to come down to Jalen. Jalen's got to play better than he did. I saw all this stuff going on. Well, is it Kellen Moore? Was it the game plan? Dan Orlovsky broke down tape. The receivers weren't open, this and that. Look, we all saw it. He's got to play better. I mean, he's got to get the ball out. He was late. He was holding on to the ball. He's got to play better. I mean, as it gets real, you got to do more than just not turn the football over. This pass game has to awaken. In a game like this against the Rams, a team that saw you, all right, you're going to have to do more. Obviously, you're still going to rely heavily on Saquon. You're still going to rely on your run game. But Jalen and AJ and Devontae Goddard are going to have to awaken. That pass game has to awaken in this one for them to beat the Rams, and it also sets up what we think will be Eagles and Lions in the NFC championship game. So it's all set up. We now know it. And again, you're talking about Eagles are a better team. You play them at home. It's a big deal, right? It's going to be crazy. The place is going to be nuts. The link's going to be wild. It's 3:00 on Sunday. It's a perfect time for a kickoff. The weather, according to my man AccuVinny, the weather is going to be around 40 degrees at kickoff, maybe some rain. It's going to be too warm to snow. There's some models that are showing snow for the game. It's going to be too warm for that, according to AccuVinny. And it looks like it's going to be about 40, some rain. So, again, you're talking about a West Coast team coming east in miserable conditions, right? That's a pass team. So if there's a little moisture, if it's a little cold, I don't know, how much does that affect the Rams? It's got to affect the Rams more than the Eagles. The Eagles are built to play in January in Philadelphia. That's who they are. So feel good about it. At first blush, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it'll be much more competitive than the first game that we saw. But I do think the Eagles will win. All right. Good morning, my man, VG.
What's happening, brother?
As we dive into this thing.
Yeah.
It's real now, man.
Yeah.
We got an opponent. I'm not joking. There's no jokes today.
There's no jokes.
Serious.
Yeah, I'm serious.
No, we're serious.
Yes.
Football.
Yeah. What am I, coming out, pulling stuff out of my hat and stuff? Like, what do you mean? I'm smiling? It means I'm joking? What am I?
What do you think?
I think the Birds are the better team. I think they win. I'm cautious against. I've been talking about the Rams for a bit. They're good. They're playing really well.
Yeah.
They're on a heater. They didn't care who they played. They sat guys. They're like, we're getting healthy. We're fine playing whoever, wherever. Let's just get healthy. They got a passing game. I mean, what we saw on Sunday, is not going to do it against this Rams team. They can put up points. And you saw they put up quick points last night and they dialed back a little bit. You know, they grinded it out and run the clock out.
And that's what McVay does. McVay is very methodical and deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
They'll work the play clock. They, you know, if you look at little things, they got the ball before halftime and off the turnover, and like they'll milk clock a run here, a run there, just to make sure they shorten you, don't give you the possession.
Yeah.
But right before halftime, knowing that Minnesota was going to get the ball. Right, they scored perfectly with like 12 seconds to go in the half.
Dude, there was a sequence in the fourth quarter, like there were like 7 minutes left, where the Rams just getting penalty and penalty, and I was like, "Are they doing this on purpose? Because clock is running, and they know they're punting, and they're getting these 5-yard penalties, but clocks are running, and it's still first down."
Right? Yeah,
it's
they
like,
don't
what's
care.
happening? No,
They'll give you all the penalties in the world. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I think it's scary. I think you have to be honest. The Eagles are the better team, but if you look at two important aspects of the Rams, is quarterback and coach, you give the advantage to the Rams. And does the team unit that we have overcome the Rams? I think so.
Yeah.
Everyone's all about the weather. Stafford is good in cold weather. I just looked it up. Under 40 degrees, he averages more than any quarterback in football, 285 yards passing a game in cold weather. So that's not going to be a factor. Rain is a factor. He stinks in the rain. He's 1-5.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Stafford does not like the rain.
Really?
So snow and cold he's good with. He's not cool with the rain.
Well, so I mean, it makes sense, right? Because you're a throwing quarterback and you got a slippery ball and, you know, the whole thing. Now, he played in Detroit, which was a dome, but you're playing against Green Bay. You're playing against the Bears.
Yeah.
So you're playing
outdoors.
in that kind of weather. And the Eagles, I think, are built. You know, the X factor, what makes Jalen so effective, beyond just protecting the ball, because I think that gets overused, is his ability to run, right? Like the ability to use his legs to keep a defense out of whack, off balance, is to me the biggest gift that he has, and why it works so well when you have a Barkley. And then, you know, you're running those RPOs, it gets effective, right? I think they got to use a little bit more tempo, particularly against a pass rush like the Rams, where you want to keep them on the field, right? Like you want to make sure they're not substituting. You want to make sure that the Rams are gassed a little bit from that front. The RPO and I think tempo is going to be, even if you do, you know, a sort of a sugar kind of a sugar no huddle, where you're just kind of, you know, you get to the line of scrimmage, you're not allowing the substitution. You're able to kind of affect the tempo of it.
I think that works I don't know why most teams just don't do that. I think it's very effective. And him running the ball, I agree with you, but I feel like when he's in the mode, Jalen, where he's looping out and running towards the sidelines, he needs to like step up and gash the middle of the line. You know what I mean? When he's running straight up the middle, I think he's much more effective as a runner than when he's trying to take it wide and take the corner.
RPOs, like the RPOs I think are effective, right? I think he's got to be a part of the run game. And I think that they're just too effective because, again, when you have a Barkley and you got to deal with Hurts running the ball, I think that's a big deal. I think that's dangerous, and it taxes the defense because then you could play action. The RPO play action works. Yeah. Then you got, you know, they worked on Sunday with the play to Devontae. That was an RPO play action.
And I think it's going to be really important. They have to come out pretty quick. You can't get down behind the Rams because if you're going to be a run-heavy team, they can score quick. The Rams, you know, they move the ball very efficiently. So I think they got to come out and they can't fall behind.
Yeah, I mean they jumped out all over Minnesota.
They got motions going. McVay he's pretty good.
No, he's
that
a great
offense looks good.
Well, listen, he's a great coach. He really is. He's we always joke around the whole thing, but he's a great coach. He's won. He understands it. They won a Super Bowl. They're playoff tested. I think it's a good matchup. But again, I do think the Eagles should win.
I agree.
I mean, as good as the offense is, Cooper Kupp is not what he used to be. Right? You could see that he's got some mileage. He's like showing it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, they lose Higbee, who's their tight end last night.
And Puka's great, but he's a little soft. He gets banged up and dinged up pretty easily. So you come out with some physicality on Puka in the cold. I don't know if he's ready for that.
Man, again, Jalen Carter, man. Jalen Carter getting pressure. Jalen Carter up the middle. You know, Stafford hates that up the middle pressure, right? All quarterbacks do.
Mm-hmm.
But during their Super Bowl year, they played Tennessee. It was like a Monday night when they won it, and they were having some line issues. And Tennessee was overdoing the A gap, right? So they were crowding the A gap, bringing a lot of A gap pressure, and that was they won that game in LA. And it was I remember watching it, and Stafford was freaked. Like that pressure up the middle, especially for quarterbacks who aren't as mobile. It messes with you.
So if they're doubling Jalen and he's not getting through, I mean, is it something where you think Vic dials up some blitz up the middle to generate some pressure, or you feel comfortable that the front four are going to generate the pressure up the middle?
You know, we'll see. Nolan Smith has been terrific from the outside, and then you saw Milton Williams. Was great. He got a lot of pressure up the middle because they were doubling and tripling Jalen Carter, so you saw Milton Williams take advantage of it.
And I know, like, we saw Saquon run for 255, but they've you mentioned it. They've just as the Eagles' defense has gotten buttoned up, they've really the last 5 games the Rams have been really good defensively.
It's so funny. The league is so funny because they change. Teams changes. They change so dramatically over a short period of time. Like Green Bay, I know you're never a big believer in them, but if you watch them a month ago. They were rolling. They look good. You can talk about, give me all you want about the Saints. Yeah. I watched the Saints play Tampa really strong the last week of the season, and they just grounded that team, right? Like Green Bay had a stretch, and then they looked funky after that. They looked, and again, they got dinged up. They lost Watson, right? And it just changes things, right? It just does. Like teams it's weird how it works. The Eagles have been markedly consistent. The thing that's most impressive about this Eagles team is just how consistent they are. And I think that's because of defense and a running game.
Yeah, I think it's hugely a part. Like Vic Fangio has been dynamite. He's way better than that. I thought he was like this old crotchety, maybe washed up guy at this point, but nah, he's got them. They look like they're tight. They're professional, great defense, man. And I think Fangio's got a lot to do with that.
I mean, the other thing, too, is, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, not for nothing, but, you know, this Eagles secondary, way better than Minnesota secondary, right? Yeah. Like, we could talk about the Rams passing game all we want, but, again, Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay,
and the exciting whites.
Cooper DeJean.
Yeah,
I mean, the Eagles secondary is just elite.
I agree.
It's an elite secondary, and I think that's a big part of it. I would expect a lot of heavy dose of Kyron Williams.
You think they're going to try to establish the run?
Yeah. Now, they lost Blake Corum, who's their backup running back, kid from Michigan, with a broken arm 2 weeks ago, and that was a big loss for them. So I would expect – they get the kid Rivers now as their backup, and he's nowhere. Corum was a good back. I would expect a lot of Kyron Williams. I think they're going to try to take advantage. No Nakobe, right? You got Oren Burks. We're going to play a lot in that spot. Maybe some Trot Jr., some Baby Axe. But I expect the Rams to run the ball a lot.
I would agree with that, and they're just Sean McVay's going to target Oren Burks. I mean, that's just it. He's going to find him in pass coverage. He's going to run at him. Let's see how they come.
Yeah, because like he sees the same thing. Like he sees that Eagles secondary, and they're tough to throw against.
I don't know where there's a weakness on the defense, really. I mean, when they're healthy, I don't know who you attack. This year they've been playing lights out.
In the secondary? No.
Just anywhere. I mean, running them, they've just been ridiculous. They are easily the best defense in football.
The most amazing thing about them, too, is how they've been able to get pressure without, like, the big edge monster, right? Yeah. Like, they don't have the edge monster.
No, you imagine if Huff was half they thought he would be?
Right.
Oh, man.
Right. Nolan Smith has been terrific.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about, that edge guy that you always have to fear. Yeah. That's something they haven't had. So, but they've been able to get pressure. They've been really good against the run. Zach Bone's been terrific. And again, I keep going back to that secondary, and I go, I just love the secondary.
And I do think, you mentioned the fires. There is something, we saw Foles and Magic. There's something about Magic sometimes. I'm not saying it's this case. I don't want to hear chats going, I'm not scared. I still think the Eagles win. I just think
I don't care.
This is going to be an easy. This is not going to be an easy win.
And all the other things. Like, show respect to the sport, right? And look at the sport, and look at the teams, and that that fires thing is legitimate. Like, there's stuff that galvanizes teams.
There is.
It's funny. I was talking to my cousin last night. We were texting back and forth, and I brought up the fire, right? We were just talking about it. And he's like, oh, you're looking for something. And I'm like, no, I mean, a little bit. I mean, narrative, I get it. But if I'm going to be honest with you and look at it, if I look at the game, and he's like, dude, listen, short week.
Yep.
Eagles are the better team.
Yep.
They're at home.
Yep.
It's Philadelphia in January.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that should win.
Yeah. There's way more pros than there are cons, but you got to acknowledge the cons. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should win. Lots to get to today. Bo Wulf will join us. Our daily Eagles update coming up in just a couple minutes. We'll talk to Bo. We'll analyze just what we're doing with the Rams and knowing the opponent. And a little bit later on, we'll got Brad to go over the line. The Eagles are a 6-point favorite.
Yeah, if that goes to 7, forget it. Then it's over. But
6 is a healthy number.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
All right. In an
yeah.
NFC divisional round, 6 points is a big deal. So we'll talk to the brain about that. Baldy to analyze it and X and O it.
There's a lot going on out there in analyst world. Getting Baldy's take would be good.
Yeah, the warring.
This is the battle of the backup quarterbacks analysts all over.
I know.
Every show.
And here's the other thing, too. Like, I watch tape, and you can see it on tape. You see stuff on tape all the time. But what you never know, and then Baldy will talk about this, what you don't know is what the play was.
Right.
Where was the play supposed to go?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know that. That's a huge piece of the puzzle that you don't know. You might have an idea of watching tape, but you don't know what the call was. You don't know where it was supposed to be.
Right.
And then Mike Sielski, who is a terrific columnist for the Inquirer, will join us at 10:30. So obviously, big show, big times, big events in Philadelphia. We're this is the best.
The Bull RG calling the Vikings the Sixers in the playoffs.
Dude, that's so on point.
Vikings just never feel like they can get it done.
That's so on point. It is so on point. Man, I the brain loved the Vikings. He was all over the Vikings.
Yeah, he's been a Darnold fan all year.
Yeah, all year, man. It's funny. You want to talk about midnight and turn it into a pumpkin?
How much money's he costing himself these last 2 weeks?
Oh, my God. He cost himself a fortune.
Oh, man.
Because there was some talk like, hey, I know I got the kid, right? Ready to go, McCarthy, but do you stay here, right? Like, what do you do? Now
it's almost like a bar thing. Hey, how about go see what people give you?
Right. If you're a team, you're going, do I really want that?
Right.
Those last 2 games?
Yes.
Oh, that's some bad, vomit emoji quarterback play. My God. The other big news today, Dion looks to be the front runner.
Love it.
For the Cowboys coach.
Love it. I want him in the division. I want him on the sidelines with a big cowboy hat on.
Remember we talked about this like months ago. And it's funny because the minute they let McCarthy go, you go, it's got to be Dion. I know there's talking about, Kellen Moore is mentioned. And who's the tight end who's out there? He was out. A couple guys are mentioned. It's going to be Dion.
It's got to be.
That's
the move.
Jason Witten.
Thank you.
That's the Jerry move is Dion.
Hitting Witten. Yeah, Jason Witten was the other one. It's got to be Dion.
Yeah, now it's all a buzz about they'll trade Dak for the first pick and get Shador.
Go ahead.
Let's do
Please, go do it, man. Let Dion run that thing right into the ground, and it'll be as entertaining as hell.
Yeah, I think the whole fans of the NFC East were a little bummed that Mike McCarthy was gone, but then you're here, they're bringing in Dion. Let's go.
Coach Pride, baby. That'll be incredible. All right, what's the matter? Yeah, we got our guys? All right. Let's talk about some of our partners, shall we? Let's talk about Golden Nugget Jewelers. That's where Philly gets engaged. Golden Nugget, right on 8th and Chestnut in the heart of Jewelers Row. Valentine's Day around the corner. Yeah. Here we go from Christmas trees to hearts, right? So here you go. Feb 14 and Valentine's Day. And if you if you're looking at where do I get my girl, go no further than go see my man Yaron at Golden Nugget Jewelers. Diamond pendants, diamond earrings. He's got everything. And if you're thinking about getting engaged this season of love, look no further than Golden Nugget Jewelers, where they have the largest selection of certified diamonds. They'll get you hooked up with the setting, the whole thing. You will absolutely love it. Golden Nugget Jewelers. He's going to Yaron will make the whole thing easy for you. All right? Because it should be a happy thing, not a stressful thing. He'll take the stress out of it. So make sure you go to Golden Nugget Jewelers, goldennuggetjewelers.com. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. All right, it's a big weekend of football with the playoffs. Houston, KC, Washington, Detroit, Eagles, Rams, Ravens, Bills, and then Notre Dame, Ohio State on Monday. You know what this weekend is? Primo's weekend.
Oh, perfect.
Right, it's a Primo's weekend. There's nothing better than the football food. I had people text me, Tasty Cake Dom, yo, we got Primos for the game. Everybody's got Primos. Look, it's football food. You're going to have people over. It's the greatest way to make people happy. And again, you don't want anything you use with a fork.
No,
right? I mean,
no.
for a game, you got 5 of them. The holy 8 turns into the holy 5. All right, and then you need your Primos, man. The hoagie tray, the pepperoni and cheese tray, the desserts, the chips, all that stuff. Just go to primohoagies.com. You'll say what I've always said, is that bread is the greatest. It's amazing that there's over 100 of these locations, and they're just like the original. I've been telling you about Primos, since 2000. So for almost 25 years, talking about Primos and how great it is. Get it for the games, primohoagies.com. You'll say what I've always said. It's not just a hoagie. It's a Primo.
It's a group of 5. It's a quintet, a holy quintet. Are we at?
A holy quintet. I like that. I'm going to write that down. I don't know why. Something about
you love
football.
You love the holy season. You're a high holy man.
Oh, yeah. Because this is how we love football, man. So I worship the sport.
Yeah, you tell the spouse, beat it. It's a holy day of obligation.
Yeah.
Nothing but football and Primos today.
Well, it was funny because my wife, we had practice last night. I got home to watch the game.
Yeah.
So I had basketball practice. I rush home. It's like right around 8 o'clock, right before kickoff. And my wife's like, she made tacos from Moscow. She's like, what do you want? I'm like, I'm good. And she's like, where you been? Like this was like 10:30.
Yeah.
I said, the Rams and Vikings. The Eagles. I'm watching the game.
Yeah, working.
Oh, all right.
You better go see your own.
Yeah.
Get a bracelet.
All right, joining us from the All PHLY Bird Show. We love them. You have to watch them. They do such a great job. He and Zach Berman, our man, Bo Wulf. Good morning, Bo.
How we doing, guys? Good morning.
We're good, man. This is it. We got an opponent. There's a face to the opponent now. Your thoughts?
Yeah, last week I was like a little bit nervous about the Packers game, and so many Eagles fans were like, "No, we're gonna kill this team. They haven't beaten anybody," and I'm like, "I don't know, any game, anything can happen." And now I feel the opposite, where like I'm a little bit worried that I'm too overconfident. All due respect to this Rams team, and they have been playing super well, and we can talk about their defense has been really, really improved over the past month or so, but it's hard for me to look at this matchup and think it's anything other than like a bunch of turnovers kind of disaster game. I feel like the Eagles have to feel really good about this matchup. It would be a disaster if they lost this game, I think.
Wow. A disaster. So
don't you think?
Got no respect for the Rams. I mean, you say you do.
I respect them.
Respect
Listen,
for the Rams.
Their defense was like 28th in EPA per drive over the course of the season, but the last month of the season, the last 4 games that they played that mattered. So they rested their starters in Week 18. The last 4 games they played, the wild card round, and then the last 3 games of the regular season, they haven't let a team score 10 points on offense. 6 points, 9 points, 9 points, 9 points. Like they are really improved. But I look at the line of scrimmage. I don't think that their defensive line can do the kinds of things that it did to the Vikings, to this Eagles team. They are going to try to do some things to confuse Jalen Hurts. Fran told us last night that this Rams team disguises coverage by the numbers more than any other team.
I made a mention of it. I was texting my cousin, and I brought up the stunts that they run. They run some exotic stunts up front. Now, again, I'm with you. The Eagles' O-line is much better than Minnesota's. And then when Minnesota loses its best player's right tackle, it's game over. But I don't think it's going to be 37-20.
I don't think so. And I don't think that Saquon Barkley is going to have 300 yards from scrimmage in this game. But I think the Eagles are going to be able to lean on the Rams physically in this matchup on offense. And I think that we know that, if you can get Saquon Barkley 25 carries where he's being relatively efficient, 4.5 yards a carry, he's going to pop a couple of those runs. And I expect that. And then on the other side of the ball, I mean, Stafford is awesome. Puka Nacua is like really, really fun to watch. He's awesome as well. Sean McVay scares me as a play caller. I think he's going to target Oren Burks. But, I mean, Vic Fangio's defense has earned my faith. I don't think that there's a team that's going to be able to move the ball up and down on the Eagles' defense consistently.
Well, I agree. I agree with that. Now, let's also talk about this because we've discussed this in the past. Vic Fangio owns Sean McVay, right? Like,
yes.
McVay has not figured out that scheme. He struggles, and stuff like that's very real because, styles make fights. Just like in boxing, if you play a particular style, you just may not be able to beat that style. And I do believe that Fangio's scheme, right, which keeps everything in front of you, which forces you to matriculate down the field, especially with the secondary, I think that gives him fits.
And they don't chase the motion. They don't get distracted by all of that pre-snap stuff. They play their rules and they know it very well. This is a long running thing. Obviously, it goes back to 2018 when that Bears team shut down McVay on the way to their Super Bowl. It's a real thing. It's it reminds me of the Pedro Martinez, like, I got to tip my cap and call them my daddy. Like, Sean McVay has to call Vic Fangio his daddy. Now I'm sure that he's going to be extremely motivated to.
Is it one
What's
game?
that?
Is it one game we're talking about with Fangio and McVay in 2018, 6 years ago?
I think Denver did it once as well. I could be wrong.
Denver did it,
and then obviously the game earlier this season.
Yeah.
And there's also all of the McVay acolytes, right? The the LaFleurs and some other guys. And so, I think the Eagles have to feel good about that.
Let's not forget about that. Let's not forget about LaFleur last week.
Right. And so, yes, I mean, this is a thing that this will be a big narrative of the week is McVay trying to get some revenge on Fangio. But I still, I think if the Rams are going to win this game, it's going to be because their defense is as good as it has looked the past month, and it's like a 17-16 barn burner, and Jake Elliott misses a kick or something like that.
Yeah, I can see that. Let's go offense because if you're the Rams, you're going to have to sell out against Saquon. You're going to have to do whatever you can to take Saquon out of the game and put the game in Jalen's hands. I mean, and you're going to have to pressure him. You're going to have to bring a lot of pressure besides just the front, which is talented. I think you're going to have to blitz.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts, takes a ton of sacks, and so I'm sure that they're going to get him a few times. There have been times this year where he holds the ball because he's not quite sure what he's seeing coverage-wise. And as Fran was telling us, in terms of like showing cover one pre-snap and then rotating to cover four or just all of those post-snap rotations, this Rams defense does that more than any other defense in football. So that's going to be a challenge for Jalen Hurts. But one thing that I would like to see from this offense is, can we throw the ball downfield, please? Like last week, they threw one pass beyond 20 yards of the line of scrimmage, and that was the fake tush push to A.J. Brown, the incompletion, right? If we are not going to be super precise in the passing game and the ball is not coming out on time, then you know what? Let's give A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith a couple chances downfield to win the ball one-on-one, maybe get a pass interference, but I would like to see some shots downfield because that has been missing from this offense really for the most part, other than that Steelers game, the entire second half of the season.
Which is always a throw, which is amazing to me because that's the throw that Jalen makes very well.
Yeah, Yes, it's his best throw.
He drops it in a bucket.
He does that, and also the jump balls that AJ just deep seem to always go into AJ's hands.
Yeah, I don't know where that's been. Let's discuss what VG's calling the dueling backup quarterback analysts, right? Because off the film on Sunday, was it the scheme with Kellen Moore, or it wasn't Jalen's fault, or was it Jalen's fault? Right? There's both fits between Fitzpatrick and Dan
Orlovsky, Daniels. Everyone.
You got Coy Detmer and AJ Feely fighting.
They're all saying the same stuff. They're all going, but they're dueling, right? Where does the truth lie? Now, it's funny. Sirianni was on WIP this morning, and VG and I were listening to him, and he's like, well, it wasn't Jalen. And then the question was, well, was the receivers getting separation? And he was like, yeah, the receivers are open. The receivers are always open.
Our receivers are always open.
Right. So where does the truth lie in your eyes, Bo?
I think, like most things, the truth is somewhere in between. It was a little bit of both. And Fran took us through some of the big ones on the show yesterday. There are a lot of plays where the scheme really leaves you wanting. And I know that Baldy will talk about this too. It's just some of the stuff is so predictable. They run the same stuff. And like there are a lot of plays from that game where you can tell that the Packers know exactly what route combinations are coming, right? These are their staple plays. You see it all the time, and there were not really change-ups off of those. And so the scheme leaves you wanting a lot more. However, there are also a lot of plays where if the ball comes out on time, a guy is open, and Jalen doesn't get it there. And early in the game, it felt like he was a little bit slow to pull the trigger. It's funny to criticize the touchdown, which is a ridiculous thing to do, right? Because the Eagles score a touchdown. But on the touchdown pass to Jahan Dotson,
the first read was the touchdown that he missed.
Dallas Goedert is open. The first read, the play is designed for him, and if the ball comes out on time, he scores a touchdown, right? Fortunately, the offensive line gives him this a huge pocket, and he's able to make a play. And he deserves credit for that as well. But that's a good example of the kinds of plays that were not made in this game. I think it's a little bit of both, and I think you would hope that Jalen is a little crisper in his second game off of the injury next week, and maybe the offense can design up a few different things.
It was weird because he starts the game all 6 for 6 different receivers, and then the pass game just kind of falls apart. Which is because I did think the same thing. I thought, wow, he's going to be the rust thing is real, coming back, and maybe it just kind of played out that way, but just a little bit later.
Yeah, and I didn't know what to make of the rust thing, but what you did see in this game, I mean, for all the criticisms you might want to lay on Jalen Hurts, he is always super accurate with like the throws that he chooses to make.
Like the touchdown throw
is where he wants it to be.
Was a bad throw.
Exactly. And there were like 4 or 5 throws in this game that were uncharacteristically inaccurate from Jalen Hurts' standpoint. A couple dirted balls, right?
Right.
And so I think that did tell you that this was not the typical Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I think he's going to play much better Sunday. I would also lean much more heavily into the RPO. That's just what he does best, man. And this offense starts to roll, and then even the play. Remember the play to Devontae? It was a big play. It came off of RPO play action,
rolling left.
Yeah,
yes.
That's
a big play in the game.
And when they get, and I would use tempo, and when they get into a rhythm, then the RPO play action, you could take a deep shot to AJ. Like I would lean more. That's what they do well, man. Get them involved in the run game a little bit. Use some tempo and get the ball down the field. Get a little bit of a rhythm. Because when they're in a rhythm like that, that's when I think Jalen's at his best. He's way accurate, and they look unstoppable.
I agree with that. And they went to tempo like briefly in the second quarter. I think it was their second or third drive of the game.
It worked.
And they moved the ball a little bit. Yeah. I think that might have been the field goal drive. But I agree with you. I would like to see some more tempo from this offense.
Yeah, I just do. I look at it. Let me bring this up, and I brought it up earlier, but it's got to be a narrative. And I hate to bring it up in this scope, but there are teams. I remember that Saints run with Katrina, and there was a real thing. Like sports is a huge part of our society, and it galvanizes people and it brings people together. And like that, those fires in LA are horrific. You know, I have friends out there that have lost everything, that have been displaced. You saw that they brought two plane full of people, dogs, cats, everything, kids, everything's around. Like, that's a real narrative.
I think it is. And your heart breaks from a football perspective. I've sort of been thinking about this for the Eagles. Given the fact that, most of the league, they think that Nick Sirianni is a joke. Like they hate Nick Sirianni. They don't like Philadelphia. In 2017, the Eagles were the plucky underdog going up against the Patriots, right? That is gone. Yeah. I think the Eagles, like as a group, need to embrace being the bad guy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, like, as the bad guy. Yeah, like puff your chest out. We're the bad guy. Well, they play this physical brand of football. They knocked out a bunch of guys on the Packers last week. That's who you are. That's your identity. Be the bad guy. Everybody's going to be, if they win this game, everybody's going to be rooting for the Lions to get to the Super Bowl. Be the bad guy. Go break some hearts. If they play the Bills or the Ravens in the Super Bowl, everybody's going to be rooting for those teams. Embrace being the bad guy. I think the Eagles need to be the heel for this playoff run.
We could play the heel so well too. Yeah. We can be a good heel.
CJ Gardner-Johnson's jawing at people, and Jalen Carter's jawing at people. Sirianni's like rubbing up and down like a rabid animal. Like, let's go.
We get Lori talking some trash after the game. It'd be great.
Bo, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. I think you're spot on. You know what's nuts? So I have a friend of mine, Jason Fitz, I do a show with on Fox, who he sent me a tweet and he tagged me in the tweet and he brought up that creep who did what he did in the game against that poor Packers fan and was just completely vile. The language, it was god awful. And, it's funny, Big Dom found them and banned them. And he got the woman a bunch of Packer stuff sent to her, which I thought was nice. But, man, the comments about that guy being indicative of the Eagle fan, the Eagle fan, which we know we hate, right? Like, we hate that stuff.
Yes.
But across the NFL landscape, they just hate Eagle fans. It's unbelievable the amount of vitriol against Eagle fans.
Yeah, let me say, when we play the heel, like that's not heel play. That's scumbag.
Vile, right?
No. Yeah, that's scumbag. Yeah.
That's vile.
That's not what we're talking about.
No, but my point is that they hate, and people are using that to blanket the entire fan base.
Yes,
I think you got to lean into that. Not that, but lean into being hated.
Saying. I'm just bringing it up that. Man, people hate the Eagles, and they hate Eagle fans around.
Well, I don't know if you ever heard this story before, but the thing about Eagles fans, you remember they threw snowballs at Santa.
What? When was that?
Can you believe that?
Raggedy ass.
Can you believe that?
Unbelievable.
I know. It's amazing.
Batteries
this thing still goes on. It's unreal.
Yeah, it's bad.
Anyway,
people murdered in other stadiums.
Yeah.
LA. LA.
Yeah.
Nasty, man.
Just some casual murders.
Dodgers. No numerous times. It's awful.
Snowballs, though.
I know. It's so stupid. And they threw snowballs at Jimmy Johnson, too.
Yes, they did.
I messed up his hair.
He was so irritated.
I know. He still hated it. Hey, real quick. Dion to Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a lot of fun, don't you think?
Yes.
We were talking about it on the show yesterday, and my initial reaction was that Dion wouldn't want to do that because Jerry has such a heavy hand there, and I feel like Dion wants to, be the one making all the decisions. But the more that I thought about it, like, it's such a perfect marriage. There's no bigger spotlight for Dion. It would be a lot of fun. I would feel bad for our DNVR colleagues because they would lose so much juice, but. I mean,
but that's all right. It stays in the family. Now we have DLLS, so
that's true.
I mean, I don't know. I think it makes sense. I love it from an Eagle perspective, I mean, but it makes sense, right? Shador's going to the draft. If he's going to leave.
If Dion is the Cowboys head coach, the Giants can't draft Shador, right?
Oh, how great would that? I mean, you're kidding me? The drama.
Yeah, that's
the
perfect.
NFC East drama is great. It's
Could you
freaking
imagine that?
Awesome. It's the best. I mean,
That's
it's got to
great.
happen. It has to.
It's got to.
It has to happen. My brother.
Well, if it's not Dion, it's Kellen Moore, right?
Yeah.
I'd be okay with
Jason
that too.
Witten's been mentioned.
Yeah,
McCarthy's
that would be
been
scary.
mentioned in
Jason
Chicago.
Witten, that bright, beautiful mind of Jason Witten that we saw on Monday Night Football, that would really have me quaking in my boots.
Right? Oh my God. I mean, you know what would scare me? Like Brady's going to get it right with the Raiders, right? Like you just know that he's going to run that franchise.
You think? Well, he does everything well.
He does.
Yeah.
He'll get that. If there's
Not his marriage.
What's that?
Not his marriage. I'm just saying.
Oh man.
Everything football related.
What's on tap? 2:00 today, buddy.
We're diving into this matchup with the Rams. ZB in studio, so very excited about that. We're also today recording the first episode of the NFL Draft Show with Fran Duffy. His debut mock draft. That's going to go up on the site tomorrow, so we're excited about that. Pivoting a little bit to draft season, leaning into Fran's sicko knowledge.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I want to be a contributor on that show because I'm a college football nut. So I've seen a lot of these players. I dive into it. I like to play the amateur personnel guy. How he gets tired of my texts. So I'm ready to go, man. I love it. I'm ready to rock and roll with that. I can't wait.
Awesome.
Bo, you're the best. Great stuff, man.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. There he is, Bo Wulf.
Bo Wulf.
That Fran show is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
It's going to be
course.
fabulous. Fabulous. All right, time now for the brain. No,
Not here yet.
he's not here yet. Where's he at? Where is the brain?
I hope
got
he's
no
on
idea.
a boat. I hope he's on a boat.
Is the brain on? He's somewhere.
He's not going to be in his house, right? I hope he's somewhere fun.
Well, he lives in Florida, right?
Yes.
Part-time.
Yes.
But he could be all over the place.
Yeah, he's an ambassador, a resorts ambassador. These free trips.
All over the joint.
Hey, shout out Johan. I just saw Johan Rojas officially awarded the Gold Glove and Rookie of the Year award in Dominican Winter League.
Did you hear what Nick Cassiano, speaking of baseball, what Nick Cassiano said?
I did not watch it. I saw him popping up on my timeline.
So Nick Cassiano is on he's on a podcast, baseball podcast.
Right.
It's I forget who it was. And he's asked a question about MVP. And he's like, oh, Otani's not the MVP.
Oh, no, who is?
Iglesias.
Oh, yeah.
That the Mets completely turned around when the Iglesias. I mean, come on, Nick. I mean, the guy's a 50-50 guy.
Right.
And he's not the MVP? Come on, bro. Like, I know you want to be different. Like, stop. That's
He's
crazy.
just throwing one to his boy. You must be friends with him.
Well,
He's got to be tight with him.
I maybe, but, come on.
There's a what else did I see? Gene Segura is all over the news too, right? Oh yeah. Gene Segura won a Golden Glove Award too in the Dominican Winter League. All these Philly guys tearing up the Dominican League.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to the Fly Boys last night.
Hey, that was a big
Yes.
win, all right? Because it's Florida.
Yeah.
And you're down early, and you're expecting them to just kind of
Fold.
wilt.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They come back and they win the game 4-3 last night.
They actually had a power play going.
I
Whoa.
know. Like, I mean, that was impressive.
It was an impressive win. I think now they lead the league with 8 third period comebacks now.
Yeah.
A little fight in this team. I like it.
No,
They
no.
just had a goalie.
I know. It's the build, though. You can't
I
fast
know,
forward.
I know.
As much as we want to fast forward the build, you can't do it.
I know.
All right, joining us now to take a first look at this weekend's lines for the Daily Grind, the Brain.
Brain. Red, the brain finder.
Brain, good
Good
morning.
morning.
Oh, he is home.
I got to ask you a question, Anthony. Did you read that article on Woody Johnson when he talked about his son not like? And did you see one of the things was someone's Madden his awareness was bad, so he didn't sign him, and I was like laughing at myself. Sam Darnold's awareness. I swear, I'm watching that game, and I defended this guy all year, and I was stunned. Now the offensive line stunk, but his awareness of when to get rid of a ball, it was almost like he was doing it on purpose. Like I'm like watching this, I'm like, get rid of the ball, throw it away, don't take a 25-yard sack. He's like, nope, taking the sack.
That's your boy. You're like a card carrying member
right.
number 1 of the Sam Darnold fan club.
Hey, listen, I was leasing, not buying. So the lease is done. But man, I got to tell you, VG, I was just watching. I was just like, what? I couldn't believe his lack of. Again, the word I'd use is awareness. Like when you're about to be sacked, you don't just say, all right, I'll take my sack like a man. I mean, what are you doing?
Dude,
atrocious performance.
Dude,
2 straight weeks.
Listen, the line is the line, all right? And, there were things. Pressure's a part of it. He had such happy feet. Right?
Oh, my God.
Like, there were times when he had clean pockets, when he could step up. He was a nervous wreck. He looked like an amoeba, like goo, like that was just melts.
He had the face of like, oh snap, I am who I am. Like, I'm back down to earth and it's done. I was all fluke. I ran out of luck.
Terrible. He was terrible. Horrible quarterback play. Horrible. Like, I mean, his decisions too. Oh my God.
Right,
it was bad.
You think he cost himself like $50 million in the span of like a week or 9 days?
It's really interesting. Yeah, exactly. How much do we think Sam Darnold cost himself, right? Because to me, if I was a team like thinking of making a legitimate investment in him, I'd have to be like, okay, wow, he played 2 at the end of the year, mega playoff games. Detroit game was a mega playoff game, and this game obviously is the playoffs. And he had his 2 of his 3 worst. For me, a horrible game against I remember watching against the Texans, but let's call it 2 of his 3 worst performances of the year. And I would say borderline unforgivable. And again, like I would absolutely have serious pause for concern seeing that when it counts the most, he couldn't handle it. I'm not ripping him. I'm really not. I'm not trying to, at least. It's just like I'm just trying to tell it how it is. And I just couldn't believe though he just couldn't sense anything. Like it was just fascinating to me. Now maybe I'm watching on TV. I see he's maybe he just doesn't sense it. I don't know. But those 9 sacks, while the offensive line was brutal, I definitely think he contributed.
Half of them were, 4.5 for him. My God.
That's what I just said. Yeah. By the way, guys,
the way they play is you franchise tag them for 1 year, 45 mil. See how it goes.
Probably
JJ,
not.
Come on, JJ, step up to the plate.
Yeah. I got to tell you, my biggest, I made out of the playoff bets I've made so far in the games, my biggest bet is this weekend's games.
All right, boy. So let's dive into it. It's 6.
Do you know which game?
I don't. He's got this smirk on his face. I think I don't know where this is. I don't like where this is going.
I don't like it either. I don't like his face. I don't like it.
That's what every girl ever went out with me said, but I still don't hear.
Did you take the Rams? You didn't take the Rams, did you?
Eagles.
Oh yeah!
My biggest bet of the playoffs.
Biggest bet of the playoffs.
Biggest bet of the playoffs. I love the Eagles. I laid 5. It's up to 5.5, but whatever. Let me see on Parks if it's still 5. I love the Eagles. They're actually 6 now, but even at 6, I love the Eagles. I think the Eagles win this one easily. I don't think the Rams are good. I feel the Rams win was a product of circumstances of Sam Darnold. I watched them against the Eagles before. VG, look, you talked about matchups. Well, maybe rather something to the first time these teams played. I just think it's going to be hard for the Rams to get stops. And I think, again, similar to the Packers game, I really wonder how are the Rams going to score many points here. The artist formerly known as Cooper Kupp, I don't know what we're going to find out if he's hurt, if he's retiring, if he just doesn't play.
Older.
I don't know what it is. They don't
he's
even throw his ball is anyway. So anyone says Cooper Kupp, you're just going by the Super Bowl MVP from 4 years ago. You're not looking at what's happening today. And I see a team in the Rams. I just see where the point's going to come from. I don't see them. And I think the Eagles will absolutely do enough to put up at least 27, and I think the Eagles will win this game by 14 plus.
Wow, 14 plus. That's
14
outrageous,
plus.
Brad. I don't know. I mean,
So you got Route City. Route City.
I think it's going to be a rout. I think it's going to be a rout on both sides of the ball. I think the Eagles will score fairly easily, and I think the Rams will struggle to score. I think this will be a very, 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 very. Plus, you have on top of it, the warm weather Rams coming into the link. Plus, again, I feel horrible with them, but the distractions Rams have to deal with on top of it. I think this is a massive edge for the Eagles. And I would be really surprised if they don't take them to the woodshed.
Brad, you dig into the Stafford cold weather numbers? I was looking at him this morning. He performs really well in cold weather.
Well, listen, Matt Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback, VJ. I love Matt Stafford. I think he's an absolute stud of all studs, but I don't think this Rams team, again, with Kupp the way that he's been the last 6 games, which is an average of 1 catch a game or whatever it's been, I don't think, and even Nacua left with a bang knee, I just don't think they're going to have much success, VG, despite his greatness. I think you could argue Stafford is the best quarterback in the NFC right now. I think he's incredible. I love Stafford, but I just don't think against this defense, this situation, with what he has around him, I think they're going to struggle. I do.
Good news for Spurs fans.
I also think that I think Hurts is going to play well Sunday. I got a feeling that he plays very well. They dive into the RPO stuff. They blitz him. They try to put the game in his hands. And I think he makes a couple big plays. I actually think he has a huge game, Hurts, on Sunday.
Well, again, and I just remember watching the first time they played it. The Rams really struggled to stop this team. I had a bet, a season future on the Rams to win the division. So I followed the Rams very closely. I followed all their games. I think they're a decent team, but I just think they're getting a little bit just similar to Green Bay. I don't think I don't think the Rams are that good. I don't. They have a great player and a very good coach, which is worth a lot. That's why they won 10 games. But just overall team-wise, I think the Eagles are significantly better.
Well, they are. I think they're clearly a better team.
Both sides of the ball.
I would agree.
Way better.
I would agree. The best part of the Rams defense is their front. I think their front's legitimate. But again,
but they're not going to do that against Philadelphia, which we already know. We already know the answer to the question.
Yeah. Here's what I think they're going to do is they're going to sell out against Barkley. They're going to put the game in Jalen's hands. And I think that Jalen's going to respond. I think it's going to be RPO stuff. I think the tempo thing, and I think I can see big plays. I could totally see an AJ Brown, one of those big games like AJ gets over 100 yards.
I think one of these games will be 14-0 at the end of the first quarter of Philadelphia. I just think this is going to be one of those avalanche kind of games, what I call them, where I just think it's going to be very, very challenging for the Rams to score. I do. I just don't think the Rams are going to have much success offensively at all. And I think the Eagles will do well. I think this will be right there. I don't want to say the Packers game was easy, guys, but they were more or less, I think it became 16-10 at one point, but they were in control the entire game. I think this will even be easier than that game, so to speak. I think they'll be in control from the moment it starts. Again, it's whatever it's worth, it's my biggest bet of the playoffs so far. Combination of, I think the Eagles are legit, and I think the Rams are overrated, and I think that they're getting a little bit too much love. And again, watching that Vikings game, I really believe, just my opinion, that Sam Darnold was that horrible that it skewed the entire game, in my opinion. Where it made it, maybe give them credit. Don't get me wrong, Anthony.
I agree. Yeah. Hey, real quick, quickly on the other games, Houston, KC.
Yeah. Well, and listen, on Parkside, you could do teasers, right? And you could tease them down. Right now on the Parkside, Anthony, they are laying 8. You can take them down a 6-point tease, laying 2. And that's what I would recommend doing. And I would probably tease them with whoever's favored in the Ravens-Bills game. I would take the underdog because I think that's going to be a close game. I think you should do a 6.5-point tease. I would take the Bills plus 7.5 because I think that game is going to be a very, very close game one way or the other. But I think the Chiefs will cover the game. If you ask me who I think will cover it, I've faded the Chiefs too many times in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Has not been good to me. Texans, again, good win against the Chargers. They played well. They did what they had to do.
Yeah, it's a different animal. I'm with you. Hey,
I
let's
just think
put
they're
a
going to
pin in
struggle to
this.
score here.
Tomorrow night, Cousins Corner, we will dive into all the Holy Quintet, right?
Yeah,
the 4 games, and then
5.
Ohio State and 4 NFL playoff games, and then the championship game, Ohio State and Notre Dame. So we'll do that tomorrow night. Brain, great stuff, buddy. Thank you, pal.
Got a good prop for you guys. Dyson Daniels, Atlanta Hawks. He's 28-6 to under 5.5 assists. Why is this over under 5.5 when he's averaging 3.5? Take Dyson Daniels under 5.5 assists.
There you go. There you go. Brain cash. Give the Brain
Be good, guys.
cash. Pay that man his money. Thank you, Brain. We appreciate it. We are brought to you by, let's talk about some of our partners, and then we got Baldy, and I cannot wait for this segment as Baldy will X and O this thing every which way. Let us talk about the Bet Park Sportsbook Casino app. That's right, because look, we talk about it. Brain's biggest play is the birds. That's substantial.
It is substantial because he plays some big plays.
Listen, and when he's talking about a big bet, God only knows. That's probably, what do you think, 50?
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, I've seen the Brain bet, so yeah, it's at least 50.
Yeah,
I've been at the casino with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
He bets more than us that we have
he does.
put together in this room.
Yes. On like the Tyson Hill over 9.5 rushing yards.
I know, it's crazy and sick. But you can bet all that stuff, all the games, the Holy Quintet on the Bet Park Sportsbook online casino app. You got all the games every which way. You want to parlay it. You want to do the props. All that stuff is right there. Just go to the Bet Park Sportsbook online casino app. All kinds of stuff. You have the casino, right? So if you want to play some online blackjack, some live dealer roulette, live dealer blackjack, craps, it's right there on the app. It's a lot of fun. All the hot online slots. You can't beat it, man. It's every which way. It's so much fun. Make sure it's a part of your weekend coming up next weekend. BetParks.com has all the details. You got to be in PA, New Jersey, Ohio, Michigan, Maryland. You got to be 21. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, we are brought to you by Rothman Orthopedics. Joints aching, hands cramping, back out of whack. Maybe we don't take care of ourselves the way Baldy takes care of himself. Rothman's got you at Rothman Orthopedics. Practicing specialized care has been their passion for over 50 years. Their mission, high quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research. Research leading to new treatments and better outcomes. Each Rothman doctor laser focused on their specialty. Hip, knee, spine, you name it. They have a team for every body part in our backyard. So you can cross over that defense. You can drain those jumpers. You can root for our team like no other teams in the country. The Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialize in you. Rothman Orthopedics, specialized orthopedics, and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today. This portion of the show brought to you by Rite Aid. Go to riteaid.com for the store and pharmacy nearest you. Now, the one, the only, Baldy.
Baldy, Baldy. Oh, let's talk some football. Yeah, Baldy, Baldy. Oh, he likes meats and football. Oh, bull.
There he is.
Oh, he's got the guns out. Whoa.
Well, he's in Florida right
Nice.
now. I can see he's in Florida. He's in Lauderdale. So, guns out, sun's out, guns out for my man.
Fresh out of the water, maybe?
So let's go right to it, dude. We got a matchup. How does Baldy see it?
Well, I mean, they just played, week 11, November, like Thanksgiving weekend.
November 24th.
Eagles threw out their best offensive game of the year. Saquon had his best game. And they had 500 yards of offense, did whatever they wanted to do. And honestly, this is the best matchup for the Eagles. I mean, the Rams finished last night on the West Coast in Arizona, had to travel, get back to LA today at 3 in the morning, got to get on a plane on Saturday to fly here. It'll be noon their time, time. I mean, they just got the best matchup. And so, look, I thought the Eagles can go 4-0. I still believe they can go 4-0 in the postseason. But this is a good matchup for the Eagles. They've just played 8 weeks ago. And Saquon, we've never seen a guy have 2 70-yard runs like he had. Not that he's going to do it again. But they did pretty much whatever they wanted to do to that Rams defense the last time they played.
And when you think about any adjustments, obviously they're going to try to take sell out against the run. But it appears that I'm with you. Like, other than their front, which looked really good against Sam Darnold and a banged up Minnesota line, that's a different animal when you're talking about the Eagles O-line.
Oh, it's not even comparable. I mean, you got Cam Robinson over there. Look, Brian O'Neill's a good player. But inside, the Eagles are so much better inside than what the Vikings are. It's not even comparable. But, I didn't see Lane Johnson. Like, Jared Verse is a hell of a player. Had a great game last night. I didn't see Jared Verse do a thing against Lane or Malata. I didn't see Kobe Turner have any issues with Mekhi Becton or Landon Dickerson. I just didn't see. They had 9 sacks and 12 quarterback hits last night, including the first play of the game. Like, I didn't see those twist stunts or the safety blitzes that they sent last night. I didn't see them have a problem. And let's face it, if they do, we know Jalen can run out and get out of harm's way running it. That's something Sam Darnold has never been able to do. So I don't even want to look at last night's game and try to project. I mean, the Eagles are better in the trenches than the Rams are. Now, can Matt Stafford throw the ball to Puka? And, you see Tyler Higbee's back for the first time. They didn't play the last game to Cooper Kupp. Can he make those throws? Absolutely. Like, you got to cover well. You got to play the ball in the air well. But I expect the Eagles to be much better in the trenches than anything we saw last night against the Vikings.
And the other factor, too, is you say what you want, but it's January in Philadelphia. It's Lincoln Financial Field. And that's how the Eagles are built. The Eagles are built to play in January.
They are. I don't know what the weather's going to be, and if that's going to be a factor or not. It certainly wasn't
40 degrees, maybe some rain, and it's going to be typical January Philadelphia.
Yeah, I don't think the weather is going to be any kind of an issue. I don't know. If it's snowing, inclement weather, we'll see. But if they have to run the ball 50 times like they did in Week 11 against the Rams, they'll run it 50 times. I thought the offense was stuck in the mud the other day. I wasn't very impressed, but they won the game. Defense won the game. You look at what Oren Burks does in the opening play of the game. That's playoff football. You go in there and you just blow up the kick returner on the first play, knock him in the middle. My dad used to call the kickoff coverage team the Nut Squad. Oren Burks was the captain of the Nut Squad the other day. That's how you start a playoff game. You come down there, let them know that this is playoff football. We're going to knock your block off. You watch Nolan Smith play football now. Like, he knocked that left guard in the middle. Like, he just smacked him. Like, he's out of the game in the 5th play. And you saw all the problems they had with their backup left guard.
Yeah, when Jenkins, I thought when Jenkins left, that was it, man. That was it for Green Bay. He's at least probably their best interior lineman. And you take him out
Josh
of the game.
Myers got knocked out. He didn't finish the game. They just physically whipped him.
It was a
Zach
half a
Tom's
body
a good
bag.
player.
Yeah.
Really good player. Outside of Josh Jacobs, a couple of runs, the one big run that set up their touchdown, they didn't look like they could compete. And the Eagles were just playing they were just vibrating at a different level than the Packers at every position all day long.
Yeah, I'm with you. Does losing Dean, how does that affect their? Because he had been playing really well.
Well, look, N'Kobe's a good player, but Zach Vaughn is their playmaker at linebacker, and so Oren Burks he gets the shot. Little trots out there. He recovers a fumble. If he got to go in there, he's got to go in there. That's everybody. Everybody is faced with playing up. Somebody's got to play up. Burks has been in this business a while. I don't think he's going to blow assignments. I don't think there's going to be a big drop off. I mean, Zach Bond was everywhere on Sunday. He's just an amazing player. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal at this point.
What does Fangio's scheme do to really to make McVay struggle? Like, you could see it in Denver, you saw it in Chicago, and you saw it in November. What's that scheme do to McVay?
I mean, they took it away 3 times in this game. They took it away 5 times against Washington. You know, 2 different places where Vic has been, in San Francisco and in Chicago. He's led the league in takeaways. You're seeing the takeaways coming in bunches right now. Now, how do you do that? I mean, you give him a 2-deep shell. Like, you don't give him anything to look at pre-snap. And then you move, whether it's a safety rotation, a rat coverage, man coverage. You don't really reveal anything until the ball is snapped. So you give them a vanilla look, and then you move. Their adjustment to any team that wants to run the ball, especially 1st and 10, is take Zach Bond out of the middle of the defensive line and play him on the outside. Sometimes that's a 6-1 look. Sometimes it's a 5-2 if the safety's down. But that's their adjustment to anybody that wants to run it. Kyron Williams certainly can be that guy, especially on 1st down, especially when Stafford is under center. They do a lot of play action on 1st down. That's their chance to go down the field. They did it on the opening drive twice last night. But that's kind of his big adjustment to stopping the run. They'll play a reduced front. They have their changeups. They're not really. I mean, I've talked to Khalil Mack, Devon Miller, guys that have played for Vic, and I've asked them the exact same question. And what you just asked me, and he goes, and they'll tell me, like, point blank, he allows you to play fast. It's not complicated. You can play fast. There's not a lot of thinking. Okay? If you're a man coverage, you're a man coverage. All right? Expect the man beaters. Get through the picks. They're coming. Whatever that might be. And so let's play from the top down. Let's keep everything in front of us. I mean, those are just staples, I think, that Vic does.
And the other thing, too, is, like, this Eagles secondary is so good. Like, the personnel matches that scheme so well. Like, and that's where, look, I love Stafford. Again, he's Hall of Fame. You can love Nacua and Kupp and all, but the Eagles secondary is just elite.
They are going after Quinyon Mitchell a little bit more, starting with that Washington game in Week 16. They are going after Quinyon a little more. He gave up a touchdown pass. Got his first interception. Oh, that's good, but that's okay.
Had the PI, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look. If you look at this, Matt, if you just look at the 4 games this weekend, you look at Stafford was the first pick, Jared Goff was the first pick, Jay Daniels was the second pick, C.J. Stroud was the second pick. I mean, Mahomes is a 3-time MVP. Lamar, Josh. I mean, it's a quarterback-driven divisional round right here, and so you're going to get great quarterback play. You watched last night. I mean, Minnesota blitzed and there's Stafford hitting Tyler Higbee against man coverage. You couldn't put your American Express black card between Higbee and the defender, but the throw won the play. So, your quarterbacks.
Not all of us have black cards.
You're going to see, I mean, you just have to expect great quarterback play in this round. Like, we've eliminated Sam Darnold. We've eliminated some quarterback play look, Baker had a great season. He got beat. They had 2 mishaps handling the ball in the 4th quarter. It was the difference in the game.
Hey,
the Eagles got 4 takeaways. You get 4 takeaways in this round, you're moving on to the championship round.
Hey, do me a favor. You studied that tape over and over again. There was like this whole kind of back and forth between Dan Orlovsky and Fitzpatrick and Chase Daniel, all about what the Eagles passing game looked like on Sunday and where the blame. There was talk about whether it was the scheme. There was talk about whether it was Jalen. We go to the preeminent expert of the tape. What did you see?
Well, the opening touchdown was to Jahan Dotson. Now, it's a scramble drill. The only guy that uncovered to get open was Jahan Dotson. Now, look, Jalen had 7 seconds to throw the ball. That's rare. But, my argument to Chase or Dan or whoever was like, what passing game? 3rd and 12, they were running it. You know, like they didn't really challenge anybody. Could they have thrown it to AJ a couple of times? Yeah, they tried. You know, I mean, they look in this streak where they had won 10 in a row since that bye week and 2-2 and turned the ball over. Jalen had averaged 21 passes a game. That's what he threw on Sunday, threw 21 passes. They ran it 30-something times. Like, that's the offense. So I don't know. I mean, if AJ's reading a book, he's reading a book. He's bored. I get it. All right. He's making a statement to the whole country. It's not what I would prefer. Like, I wouldn't allow that to happen if I was the coach. Like, it's nonsense. But like, he's making a statement going, I'm bored. I'm not involved. Okay. You know, you're moving on to you're moving on to the divisional round. That's the most important thing.
What did you see of Hurts? Like, how did you kind of look and see how he played?
He's going to look. Jalen's not going to change. He's going to hold the ball. If and look, some of it is the luxury of playing behind the best offensive line. He gets time. You know, he gets more time than any other quarterback in this league. So he takes his time. Like, it's not quick rhythm. It's not quick. Okay, here's the man beater. This is what we got. That's not the way he plays. And so to expect something different at this point is kind of ridiculous. He's been a good deep ball shot thrower. Didn't take many the other day. He's been good at it though over his career. He gives the guys a chance, but he's gonna take his time. I played with Randall Cunningham. Randall Cunningham never threw the ball on time. I'm not comparing. I'm just saying Randall waited till the guy was open. He used his athletic ability, and the guy almost had to be looking at him for Randall to hit Fred Barnett or Calvin Williams or, Keith Byers, whoever it was. In some ways, it's Jalen's not turned the ball over as a result. But is that a passing offense that can win a Super Bowl? Is that the play calling that can win a Super Bowl? I don't know yet. But right now, the offense runs through Saquon, and if it's not there, he's content to run it and punt and put the defense on the field.
Is there give me the Rams front seven. Give me the Rams run defense. We saw that Saquon gassed them like we talk about. Is there any world in which they can sell out against Barkley and have success to stop him? Because he seems unstoppable with that line and what he does. I mean, he still goes for $120. Would have had $170 if he doesn't just hold up.
Yeah, I mean, that's when he breaks his runs. I mean, he's got 5 runs of 60 yards or more. That's when he breaks his long runs in the fourth quarter. He had one split the other day, like he had 2 of those against the Rams. Look, I mean, the Rams have drafted really well the defense line. Jared Verse is a beast. Didn't have a problem. The Eagles didn't have a problem with him. Braden Fisk, Byron Young, Kobe Turner. They got Omar Speights starting at linebacker. He's a free agent out of Oregon State, LSU. I saw him last year in the Hula Bowl. He wasn't invited to the East-West. He wasn't invited to the Senior Bowl. He's a free agent kid. He's actually from Philly. Born in Philly, Omar Speights. Ended up moving out west. But, that's, Rose Boom. I mean, these aren't, this isn't championship level. They played 3 safeties last night. Quentin Lake played up at the linebacker level. They've got some versatility to what they can do. They rely on their front. Last night, a lot of 4-man rushes. They got the sacks. Verse had no problem with either tackle last night. I didn't see that type of style against the Eagles back in Week 11.
So it feels like you're sensing, I'm not going to say route, but you're going to sense a high comfort level for Sunday. Like you feel very strong about the Eagles on Sunday.
I mean, look, the coaching is the difference in the NFL. I mean, it's just the difference. So Sean McVay is going to have a different game plan all the way around. Shula, defense coordinator, have a different game plan. They're going to study the game tape really well. They're a different team now than they were Week 11. They completely shut down Aaron Jones last night, except for one Cam Akers run. They stopped the run. So, but that's Minnesota. Minnesota's offensive line doesn't compare. But the one thing I would say is Stafford's won a Super Bowl. He's built for the postseason. They've got elite receivers. The ball gets out on time. There's a lot of play action. All right, with Stafford under center. Kyron Williams is a stud. Sean McVay is a stud. I mean, every one of these coaching, whether it's O'Connell, Liam Cohen, Canales, they're all from McVay's system. So, he's going to have a different game plan, and he's going to attack probably different. He understands what Vic Fangio is doing. He understands. So there'll be a different game plan. So from that standpoint, I like the Eagles, but I do respect the coaching of Sean McVay and that staff and the young talent that they have.
Yeah, they have a young DC, Shula, who seems to be a pretty bright mind, but still, he's young.
Look, he is, but I mean, they called some good blitzes last night.
Yeah.
Keller Witherspoon comes off the edge, Quentin Lake. They dropped their interior guys, and Spoon comes free and knocks the ball out of Darnold's hands, and there goes Jared Verse, 57 yards for a touchdown. I mean, those are things you hope don't happen. Those things can happen. They have happened this year, early in the year. But, Jalen's done a much better job of taking care of football.
Do you believe in the intangibles? We saw the Saints galvanized by Katrina. And, of course, we know the horrific situation going on in L.A. right now.
Well, I mean, they played inspired football last night. They moved at a different level than the Vikings all night long. Is that because a lot of these, their facility is right in Thousand Oaks, California. They're right on the edge of all these, horrific fires that are going on. There's players and coaches, I'm sure, that are completely affected by this thing. And if they aren't immediate members of their friends or family, what are? So can it galvanize? Yeah, it can. I was there. I was there on the Monday night when the Superdome opened after Katrina. It was the Falcons and the Saints. Like, the spirit in that Superdome that night, the Falcons weren't going to win that game. It was just like the intensity in that building was different. Now they got to come across. This is a tough week for the Rams. You got to completely get all that adrenaline out of your body. You got to get some rest. I don't think I saw any injuries on the Rams last night. It might be wrong. Maybe Higbee got a little banged up, the thigh. But other than that, I didn't. In fact, they didn't play any of their defensive linemen in the fourth quarter. Once they had a 27-9 lead, like, all those guys were off the field. I mean, McVay was already resting guys. So, but this is a tough turnaround for them. You look at all the matchups here. The Eagles, from that standpoint, travel, short week, all that stuff. I mean, the Rams got the short stick here on this deal.
Good. You had something?
Oh, well, just from the fan perspective, there's a bunch of chatter on some message boards and stuff about the referee, Sean Smith. He's a guy who ejected Chauncey Gardner-Johnson last game. He's got a home record. The home team only wins 40% of the time. Do you give any credence to, like, trends of referees or past history like a few weeks ago? Does any of that carry over, and any credence to the home team only winning 40% of the time?
Well, if I was coaching, I would pay attention to it. I'd study all that stuff. Who throws the most holding calls? Who calls the most interference calls? Because I would tell my guys, look, they're going to, like last night, they called some penalties, but for the most part, I mean, they didn't call any penalties offensive holding. I know Lane Johnson got one the other day. His feet slipped from underneath him, and he grabbed Rashawn Gary. But for the most part, they're swallowing the whistles in these playoff games. They're not calling flagrant. Now, Green Bay's left guard situation was terrible. They got flagged a bunch, but they're practice squad players in their playing at this level. So, that's going to happen when you're out of position. But I do give that some credence. I do pay attention to that stuff because some of that stuff travels week to week with you.
All right. The rest of the divisional round is fascinating. The crown jewel of all the games, Buffalo and Baltimore, Baldy. I mean, oh my God, Josh versus Lamar. I mean, the whole world will be watching that one.
Well, the thing that was amazing to me about the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game was Pittsburgh played Baltimore 3 times in 8 weeks, and they gave up 300 yards rushing. They acted like they didn't know what to do. Constantly. I mean, it's just amazing. Now, the last time these two teams met, Derrick Henry went 87 yards in the first play of the game for a touchdown. Like, this is not a good matchup for Buffalo. But maybe Josh Allen plays at an MVP level and he gives Baltimore the same fits. But what Lamar and Derrick Henry are doing right now, it sure looks tough to me to stop at this point. Teams don't know. They don't look like they know what they're doing.
Baldy on the Ravens. Baldy likes the Ravens.
I do like the Ravens in this game. I like the way Lamar's playing. They played without Zay Flowers. You didn't even know it. He's their leading receiver 2 years in a row.
It was amazing. There's no Zay. I go, this is going to be interesting to see what that offense looks like without Zay. And the fact that Pittsburgh knows them, it was not an issue whatsoever. The Steelers, man, you talk about quit mode. They wanted nothing to do with anything. Washington and Detroit. Can Jaden scare the Lions?
I don't think anything scares Jaden. I don't think that guy is just, he is unflappable. I think that's the word. He's unflappable, that kid.
Yeah.
Like, he's just an amazing, amazing person. He calls the whole offense at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
He's a rookie. He's literally making every check, getting everybody lined up. It's a shotgun offense. Like, he's got a rookie left tackle out there. Like he's just an amazing player. And he doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't slide. He goes right into the teeth of the defense. Do I give him a chance? Detroit's offense is so dynamic. Marshall Lattimore is struggling. Like, he can't stay in front of Jameson Williams.
No.
I don't think he can stay with Amon Ra. Like, they can't play this matchup man coverage with Marshawn right now. That was a bad man. I mean, he's had good days against Mike Evans. That was not a good day the other day. No. But I just think Detroit's offense is so good.
Yeah.
I don't know that Washington, who doesn't run the ball particularly well right now, I don't know that that Jaden has enough juice to go into Detroit and win this.
And Houston played inspired. The defense was terrific, but the Chiefs are an entire different animal.
I guess the question is, they've rested for 3 weeks. So are they rusty at all? They're healthy. They figured out the left tackle position. Defensively, they get Jalen Watson back. Chris Jones had a couple weeks to rest. It looks like, this is set up for a Kansas City championship, level game against probably Lamar. Look, we'll see what happens. But I don't think Kansas City is going to have the same issues that we saw, again, with the Chargers.
All right, talk of the league. McCarthy out. Prime in. There's mutual interest. What do you think?
I saw Dion on Thursday at the Hula Bowl practice, and I asked him. I said, what's your? Well, I asked him about the Cowboys,
right?
And he told me, there's certain things that he would do. I won't say it on the air right here, but it's pretty shocking. But he told me, look, he would go to the NFL if he could coach his sons. So I'm like, if he can coach Shedeur, or Shiloh, or both, he would go to the NFL. Now, I don't know, you can't orchestrate that at this stage, but he's going to get interviewed for sure.
Yeah, it does, but doesn't it seem like a fit, right? I know the other guys are talking about Jason Witten and Kellen Moore, but it sure feels like they're a fit.
Well, especially they had Dan Quinn right there, So you go, they finished awful last year against Green Bay in the playoffs, terrible home defeat. There's Dan Quinn out there, he's going to get attention. He led the league for 3 years that he was defense coordinator. They led the league in takeaways over the 3-year span. Dan Quinn was sitting right there. Here he is. Washington's got 14 wins. Dan Quinn was. It seems like they're $1, a day late and $1 short about everything that they do, whether it's signing Zeke or signing Dak first. They just seem slow in free agency. They just seem slow. They wait a week to let Mike McCarthy go. They could have maybe had Vrabels, maybe had the first choice. Some of these guys, so maybe you're right. Maybe it is just set up for Dion.
Yeah. Well, we know do you have Niners to fix?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got to go fix the Niners. That 6-11 season, isn't good for them right now.
Yeah. We got to talk about on Thursday, we got to talk about some of these coaching openings too, to some of these other teams. I think Spags is going to get something. Maybe the Raiders.
I hope so. He's the best defensive coordinator in football, and nobody's close.
Yeah. Brady loves him. And you got Jacksonville, the Jets. Who knows what's going to the Jets? You need to fix the Jets too. You know that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know who's running the interviews. Mike Tannenbaum, who's been fired. Like, I don't know. Like, it just seems like a mess.
Yeah, Coach Baldy is waiting. You're the best, buddy. See you, pal.
Thanks, Coach. Yeah, cuz.
There he is. Baldy, liking the Birds. The brain, his biggest bet is on the Birds, right? Baldy loves the matchup. I mean, Bo loves the matchup. We love the matchup. Everybody loves the matchup.
Line might be 7.5 by the end of today.
Wow. Look at it. Look at it. All right. This portion of the show is brought to you by, that's right, Parks Casino. Let's talk about Parks Casino. And then we got our man, Mike Sielski, looking forward to Mike. Something tells me he's going to love the matchup as well. But let's go. The mecca of entertainment is Parks Casino. You know all about it. We tell you all about the acts. We tell you all about the fun that's going to be had. So in 2025, make Parks Casino your weekend haven for entertainment. That's right. You got the Parks Grill Steakhouse, the Liberty Bell Gastropub, Chickies and Pete's, the Bamboo Noodle House, and all the great acts at the Excite Center, which is an intimate 1,500-seat arena right inside Parks Casino. You can't believe it. You can't beat it. Parks Casino, this is how you win. Here's the lineup happening. How about January 18th? The Sounds of Shaggy.
But you called me on the counter.
Wasn't me.
January 24th, actor Richard Kind from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Whoa, Larry. Whoa. Hey.
Country star Cole Swindell, February 7th.
His Carolina, Tails, California.
February 8th, magician Michael Carbonaro from the Carbonaro Effect.
Abracadabra.
Abracadabra. That's good. SNL's Colin Jost returns for 2 nights. Parks Casino, March 14th and 15th.
I'm funny. Seriously, I'm funny. Come see me.
There you go. That's actually funny. Larry the Cable Guy, May 16th.
Get her done.
Here you go. They must have sold out of your boy.
Alice in Chains?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Good for that. Yeah. Oh, we do Firehouse, February 14th. Bring your loved one. Up all night, sleep all day.
ParksCasino.com to buy tickets for all shows. This is how you win. Dinner and drinks before the show. It's a blast, all right? Don't forget, Parks Casino. You got to be 21. If you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let's talk about TrueMark Financial Credit Union.
Love TrueMark.
And all our favorite people.
They got that green light app.
TrueMark, that's it.
Because you don't want to raise financially illiterate children. No, you want to teach them good finance skills, some responsibility. Because I was clueless when I grew up. So, if you've got kids, TrueMark's got the ultimate playbook for teaching financial responsibilities with this super cool Greenlight account. The Greenlight account comes with a Greenlight app and is totally changing the game, helping kids and teens learn how to earn, save, and spend wisely. They can set up savings goals, track their own spending, and even get an allowance all right through the app. And the cool part about this, each kid gets their own debit card, so they get to make purchases and learn real-world money skills while you stay in control of everything from your phone so they can't go nuts. You get a peace of mind, they get the freedom to make smart decisions with their money. It's like coaching your kid through their very own financial game. And for TrueMark Financial members, it's free. Now's the perfect time to introduce your kids to this Greenlight account. Get signed up today. Visit TrueMark.com/Greenlight for more information.
All right. Thank you, my brother. All right. Now joining us from the Inquirer, the great columnist. We love him. He's fantastic. Mike Sielski joins the program. Good morning, Michael. How are you, buddy?
I'm 5 chapters in inner excellence, Ant. It's changing my life.
You're glowing.
You know what? For all of us writers, thank you, AJ Brown. How about it?
The only disappointing part about it is he wasn't reading one of my books or Z-Berm's books. I mean, come on, suck up a little bit better here, AJ. Let's go.
Did you see the jump? The book was ranked 523,000 on Amazon and now 1. It's unbelievable.
The power.
What a world we live in.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It is so wild how, for people that do art and the intersection of art and social media and e-commerce and how it just becomes a thing. We saw what the Phillies did for that song, right?
It's crazy. I have a buddy of mine a couple of years ago did a book on the 90s Knicks, and Spike Lee posted about it on his Instagram page, and the book landed on the New York Times bestseller list. That's all it took was Spike Lee, taking a photo of it. So I don't know. I'm less than a month away from hitting the book tour, and I'm going to do everything short of standing at the corner of Broad Market with a sandwich board saying we'll sell books for food. And I just need AJ to start reading it.
Your book about the dunk, this thing should be a monster. It should be a monster.
I hope. We'll see. I hope. Maybe Dr. J will tweet about it or something.
Well, he should, right? All those guys. Dr. Buckenstein, right?
All of them.
I mean, not for nothing. A lot of social media. It should be there. It's awesome. All right, let's get to business. Eagles and Rams. Everybody loves the matchup, Mike. People are going bananas. Our man, The Brain from Parks, he says it's his biggest bet of the playoff season. And this guy puts in suitcase full of money. Baldy just said, loves the matchup. He sees the Eagles as a Super Bowl winner. Where does Mike Sielski see this matchup?
And as much as I have a contrarian nature and as much as I like to zig when everybody else zags, I was there in LA for that Eagles-Rams game this season. And short of Matt Stafford just throwing up deep balls to Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and those guys making one circus catch after another, and Darius Slay and Quinyon Mitchell forgetting how to play cornerback, I don't see the Rams winning this game. I mean, the Eagles were just better that night. And I don't think last night tells us very much about the Rams, given their opponent. I mean, the Vikings, how that team went 14-3 with Sam Darnold at quarterback, I'll never know. I mean, watching them throw a football sometimes is like watching a kid throw a wiffle ball. Like, you just don't know where it's going.
What's wild about it, too, is, and you're right, because they had 9 sacks. They completely dominated the game. But what does it really mean when your quarterback had ridiculous happy feet, melted at the sight of pressure, and they lose their right tackle? I mean, it was a complete mess. They were a complete mess in every phase of the ball. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't do anything. And I agree with you. I don't know what you glean from that game, because the Eagles' O-line is superior. The Eagles' defense is superior, right? Everything about that is different. And I don't know what changes from November 24th to Sunday.
I don't either, Ant. And I also think that we've probably seen about as bad an offensive game as the Eagles are going to play in the postseason against Green Bay, right? Like, they couldn't throw the ball downfield. And we see this, I want to say from time to time with Jalen, but it's actually more than time to time. But the bottom line is he didn't turn the ball over. And when he doesn't turn the ball over, they win. That's what this comes down to. He can throw for 50 yards. He can throw for 350 yards. And they win because he doesn't turn it over. So I think you're right. I think the circumstances or conditions are such that the Rams aren't going to be able to do against the Eagles what they did against the Vikings. They're not going to sack Jalen Hurts 9 times. As often as Hurts holds the ball back there, he's not going to hold it the way Darnold did. And the line will protect him better than the Vikings line protected Darnold anyway. So, I think we're going to see the Eagles play the Lions at Ford Field in 2 weeks, and, we'll see what happens from there.
Let me ask you this, because Orlovsky's been pretty active. So on October 25th, he has a segment where he says the best young defensive line in football is the LA Rams. And he retweets it today, patting himself on the back as if saying he is correct. Are they a better young defensive line than the Eagles?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah. Look, Carter is the best player, but they got, Kobe Turner and Verse, and they got, they're studs,
Right.
Look, to be real about it.
I don't think
they're good.
I don't think that's shade at all.
All right.
No, look, I think I like Dan's analysis generally. I think he's a little quarterback friendly sometimes for my taste. I think he sees what's going on in an offensive set, and if something doesn't go right, he presumes it was the play caller as opposed to the quarterback not seeing something. There was some back and forth between him and Ryan Fitzpatrick about Hurts' performance Sunday, about whether the fact that the Eagles' passing offense was so stagnant was due to Kellen Moore's play calls, or was it due to what Jalen was doing? I tend to think it was more about what Jalen was doing than the play calls themselves, although I don't like a screen pass to Saquon on 3rd and 5. But, Dan knows his stuff.
What did you think about the Eagles' pass game? Like, we talked about it a lot, and we talked about, what we saw. Was it scheme? Was it Jalen? Obviously, probably a little of both. Give me your reaction on it.
Yeah, a little of both, but it was obvious to everybody. The Packers started blitzing, and Hurts couldn't handle it, and the offense couldn't handle it. So what does that tell you? Now, the Rams blitzed Jalen a fair amount, back earlier this season, and he picked them apart when they did. So, I haven't sat down and pored over the film the way some other people might. It was obvious sitting there watching the game that, okay, they're bringing pressure, and Jalen's having a hard time handling it. So, but the flip side of that, Ant, is, as we've seen already this season, Jalen has a bad game against Carolina. There's questions, and then he comes out and picks the Steelers apart. It looks great. So, and I'm not going to just say, well, that must be Kellen Moore scheming up things better for him. He played better. So I think that's about as bad as we're going to see from him in this postseason. I just do, and he tends to bounce back.
Yeah, I could see him having a monster game next week. Like, it's just the flow of it. They're going to sell out against Barkley. Barkley still will have his thing. He'll still be able to be effective. And then I can see them. I think you got to lean in on RPO, right? He's so effective in the RPO play action. And I think you just got to lean all the way in on that. Like, listen, now's the time. You have potentially 3 games left. So get him super involved in the run game, all right? Use the RPOs, play action, use some tempo. And I can see him be connected with AJ down the field or Devontae with a couple of big plays. I can just smell it. Like, you could see, like you said correctly, like, he bounces back on these games. He was obviously not right? He was holding on to the ball. Look, we talk about rust. All right, he was 6 for 6 different receivers to start the game, but he did miss Goddard on the opening touchdown to Dotson.
Yeah.
Goddard was open early. He was not seeing things quickly. I could see now him, all right, he had his game under his belt, and then he goes out and has a monster. That's kind of how we've seen him.
Yeah, and you're right about him being at the center of the offense in terms of running the ball. That's such a huge component of what they want to do, either throwing it or running it even with Saquon, right? Like, once a defense has to account for Jalen carrying the ball and carrying it productively, that changes the entire dynamic of the Eagles offense. We saw that against Washington after he left, right? For the first series or two, the Commanders were honoring the idea that Kenny Pickett might carry the ball the same to a similar degree that Jalen did. And once they understood that he wasn't going to do that, they threw everything they had at stopping Barkley and, held them to field goals. So I think that's a really key component to this game Sunday is, are they going to get Hurts on the move? Is he going to be able to carry the ball for decent yardage? Are they immediately going to go to the tush push, right? Like, we go back to that play against the Packers, right, where they run the fake tush push and he misses AJ deep. I wasn't surprised by that play call, only because here's a quarterback coming off of a concussion. if there were ever a moment to fake a tush push, this was going to be it. And it kind of looked like the Packers were kind of quasi ready for it. So I don't know if there's a 4th and 1 or a 3rd and 1 early, and he's okay running the tush push, run it so that, they know he's a factor.
Yeah, I also saw Minnesota run a fake tush push in the Mayo Bowl, and it was pretty cool. I could see that being also part of the
I heard what you said yesterday. Maybe you put a bug in somebody's ear, and that very well may be true. I was just sitting there watching the game from the press box, thinking like, there's a good chance they're not going to run a tush push on this play just because Jalen's coming off of a concussion.
Yeah. Hey, listen, you're an unbelievable writer. You are incredible creative. We've X'd and O'd this thing already, right? And you could see all the matchups, right? And even the intangibles, the Rams coming off a short week, having to travel across country. Everything goes against them, right? The whole thing is against them. There's only one thing that would make sense from a creative narrative storytelling standpoint, and it's the horrific tragedy that's going on with the fires in LA. And somehow that lifts them to victory on some magic run.
It would be an amazing story. It really would. And if you saw Sean McVay after that game last night, he referenced it when he talked to the team after the game. I kind of like that the teams do this now, where they put lengthy clips of a coach's post-game speech on social media. I like listening to it from Nick. I love it from Dan Campbell, and McVay's a similar kind of guy. And he referenced that. They're riding an emotional wave here, and it's it would be a great story. It just would come at the Eagles' expense.
No, I know. But that's the only thing that I could see, happening, because in X's and O's, the Eagles are a better team. They destroyed them in November, which you saw. All the other stuff, having to travel on a short week across country at a different time in the cold weather, right? It's all everything favors the Eagles.
It does. And if you followed Philadelphia sports for longer than 5 minutes, that probably makes you a little bit nervous.
Yes. I still can't shake. Dude, I love the Eagles on Sunday. I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be Eagles and Lions in a showdown. But there's still a part of me that lived through Tampa, and, that thing will always nag at me like a little bug crawling up my neck. I remember 32 degrees and the whole thing. There's still that little kind of thing that's eating at me that I keep swatting away.
And I say it all the time, the two sporting events that I've covered where things got from as loud as I've ever heard a sporting venue to as dead silent as I've ever experienced anything was the Eagles game against Tampa. The sound at the beginning of that game when Deuce scored the touchdown.
Flyover. Take it from the flyover.
Exactly.
Brian Mitchell kick return. The Deuce touchdown.
All of it. And then to the dead silence of the Rondé Barber interception. And then a year and a half later, I'm at Belmont Park covering Smarty Jones going for the Triple Crown. And the horse leads the entire race, and it sounds like rolling thunder at Belmont Park, 100,000 people plus. And then he gets passed in the backstretch and loses to Birdstone, and you could have heard a pin drop. So,
wow.
I mean, look,
I think that's fascinating. You know why? Because I thought you were going to go to the one bloody nil of 2011.
Oh, gosh.
And at Citizens Bank Park. I thought that's where you're headed.
I wasn't there that night, but just from watching that game on TV, I was working in New York at the time, but just watching that game on TV, that was a different atmosphere altogether. You could sense that, it seemed like you could sense the tension in that ballpark. As soon as the Cardinals took that 1-0 lead, as soon as it happened, it's like, uh-oh. And it just never went away. Those other two events were like total ecstasy and then crushing disappointment and deadly silent.
Yeah, that definitely. I mean, it happened the same way. It's bizarre, Mike. Man, it's
it is.
Look, it's haunting. Yeah.
It is. And look, you look at the Rams, I know everybody did the whole like position by position thing last week with the Eagles and the Packers. Like, tell me the position that the Packers are better than the Eagles at. Matthew Stafford's better than Jalen Hurts, I think. But Matthew Stafford's going against the Eagles defense too, so that advantage is mitigated.
All right. Let me ask you.
The Rams defense, as good as it looked last night. Yep. Am I frozen?
Yeah, you're frozen.
Am I back? I'm frozen.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, now you're good.
All right. Yeah. Just as good as the Rams looked last night, their defense is not on par with the Eagles. So, I think that one advantage that the Rams have is mitigated.
Bo brought up an interesting point about the Eagles playing the villain. All right. It's fascinating because you have the Rams, right? It's everybody's going to root for. The Lions, everybody will root for the Lions to get to the Super Bowl. And if they play the Bills, or the Ravens, everybody will root for the Bills or the Ravens over the Eagles. And it's like that we should lean in to play the villain.
I think there's a lot of truth to what Bo is saying. I wrote about this last year, and to Philadelphia, the Eagles are always going to be underdogs, right? It's in the culture. It's the way they won the Super Bowl the year that they won it, with the backup quarterback beating Belichick and Brady. That ethos is always going to be in Philadelphia. But to everyone else who follows the NFL, the Eagles are the furthest thing from an underdog. They're one of the best franchises in the NFL. They are the team that figured out how to beat Belichick. They are the team that generally wins the NFC East every other year. So, yeah, lean into being a villain because most of the rest of the league kind of looks at you that way.
And the other thing is, the fans are reviled. Like, we're reviled. Like,
yeah.
Forget about that idiot that I'm so angry because they put another black eye on us. But Eagle fans are reviled, because we are loud and we are obnoxious and we wear our emotions on our sleeves. And, we play the foil to the entire league.
Yeah, of course. There's no better winners in pro sports than Philadelphia sports fans. And honestly, there's no worse losers in a lot of ways, too. It's kind of the yin and the yang that makes it so fun to cover sports here and be a part of the culture. It's great. It's Jimmy Rollins wasn't wrong when he said, that Phillies fans and Philadelphia sports fans were kind of front runners. When you're winning, it's awesome here. And when you're not so much. And even when you're winning, it's not so awesome for fans from other towns to come here.
It's, dude, it's nuts too. Like the Eagle fan thing, for those of us that remember, Anthony Toney, right? I remember the Swamp Fox and all those lean years of the 90s, like the late 90s and the Detmers, the groundswell of Eagle fans and celebrities. Like there were no celebrity Eagle fans up until this couple of years ago. Like I watched all around comedians and actors and you name it. Nobody loved the Eagles before.
No, you're 100% right. And Philadelphia would be the other town where if a team like the Eagles, assume it's the Eagles, if they turned into a dynasty, right? Like Eagles fans would be exactly what you saw from Patriots fans, right? The Patriots were the dregs of the NFL forever. That stadium they had before they built Gillette was the worst place to play in the league. It was awful. They were a bad organization. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick come along, and then all of a sudden, every Boston sports fan is Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Yes.
And it's a city of winners and, all this stuff. And they became insufferable. There was, it was great to be, it was fun to watch Red Sox fans revel in winning the World Series in 2004. And then very quickly it got insufferable.
Yes.
And the same thing would happen here with Philly, right? Like we would go from being like, all we just want to do is win. I just want to celebrate a championship before I die to, yeah, we're the best. We are the best. It would be exactly the same thing.
Yeah, it's great. That's a great point. It's a great point.
Just off topic while we got you here, Mike, I love your opinion on stuff. What are your thoughts on how the arena deal has gone down?
Oh, man. You know what? VG, I'm actually glad it's staying in South Philly. I think it's better for the entire region that it's in South Philly. And this is me talking as a suburbanite who, likes the fact that the stadiums are all in that complex, and maybe now they can build up that complex into something better than just a bunch of parking lots in FDR Park. There's potential for something bigger and better there. But man, how do you believe what the Sixers are telling you about anything going forward, right? I mean, it just seemed to change so quickly. And they were so set on 10th and Market, and, David Adelman talking about how he's going to revitalize the downtown and all of this. And then poof, it's gone. So I think the end result, just from my perspective, is better. It's better for Chinatown, obviously. There's something else. I've always maintained that there's something else that could go at 10th and Market. It doesn't have to be a sports arena that could go there and make that area of the city better. And, I think the end result's fine. I think the process was totally weird and strange and, makes everybody untrustworthy.
I am a little worried about Center City because Macy's closing is a huge thing. And when you're talking about the center of cities, look, the Coliseum is in the center of Rome, right? Like,
yeah,
that's what it's always been. And if there's no shopping district, I don't know what saves 10th and Market. I don't know what kind of there needs to be some sort of entertainment complex, something on that side of Broad Street to revitalize it, to make it. And look, and you could see it with Macy's, and Rittenhouse Square is a gem of the town, but I don't know that that's enough that keeps Center City alive. Yeah,
and look, Macy's was wonderful, is wonderful. I took my kids to the light show. I went to the light show when I was a kid. But that area was decaying even with it there. So you're right, Ed. There's something that's got to go there. I don't know what it is. I just know it doesn't necessarily have to be an arena. I don't know what the lasting answer there is. And this is a point, guys, I've been making for a while since the arena proposal was made public, years ago. We don't know what Philadelphia is going to look like 5 to 10 years from now. The pandemic and remote work did so much to change people's thinking about where they can live relative to where they work, that who knows what Philadelphia or any number of cities are going to look like in the future.
I mean, look, we've been talking forever about the waterfront and Delaware Avenue and all that piece of it, right? Like
it's a waste. Like there's nothing on the water.
I mean, you have that whole piece of it. And the shame is that we've never figured out how to connect river to river. Like we have two incredible rivers and water that that's been underdeveloped forever.
We finally got that park they're building. It's supposed to connect Old City to the river. So it's underway. Maybe in a few years, see if that helps.
Yeah. I mean, I think the region needs someone with some big ideas and the what's to just pursue them. There's something that's happened in the culture. Maybe it's always been here, but like the idea of taking a big risk seems not at the forefront of people's feelings and minds anymore. And I think the city needs something like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Mike, what do you got cooking?
I'm working on a column about AJ today. I'm going to figure out all the things he should have been doing other than reading Inner Excellence. Like reading Z-Berm's book, The Franchise, reading, The Rise, Kobe Bryant, The Pursuit of Immortality, maybe dumping a Gatorade bucket on somebody's head. I don't know, all those things that are really acceptable in football.
I like it. You can throw my couple books in there too if you want.
I will. You got it.
Appreciate it. Mike, you're the best, buddy. We love you, man. Thanks, pal.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you.
Mike Sielski. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah.
He does such great stuff. Time now for the Rite Aid Back in the Day moment.
We're going back. We're going back. We're going back in the day with Rite Aid. Yeah!
All right, we're going back 1960. Great picture. NFL champion Chuck Bednarik. Post game.
Dude, that is I saw that the other day.
The stogie in the mouth and the cigarette in the fingers.
That's outrageous. a cigar, and a cigarette. Is there a beer anywhere in the other hand?
Yeah, the other hand.
I mean, that's it. That is that's a beautiful photo.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for us, everybody. Man, this is the greatest time of the year. Enjoy it. We love you guys. We'll see you in the morning.
Go Birds.
We all silly like the mayor.